and whether the consequences are good or bad are interesting. We just want to know more. We want to know whether we're satisfied with those consequences. We want to know what kinds of benefits create what kinds of consequences. This is very, very basic, but just think about this as you can see. If you say push when you push with your hands and pull when you pull with your hands, you will be faster than if you say pull when you push with your hands and push when you pull. Your brain will slow down. There are consequences for the ways that you describe yourself. It will be cultural. If you think someone is a certain race or a certain gender, that will change how you relate to them. But they're also just biological. The narratives in your brain, the ways that your brain works, that has always been one of the most fascinating parts of our communication is 100%. So ethics is equally based on curiosity kills the cat. But they have that in mind. So, learn more. Take a couple more deaths, I guess. In the classical sense, when you think of ethics as like religious rules and moral character and moral principles and things, it's a very classical approach. When you think of ethics from the standpoint of critical ethnography, we have a whole new approach. I'm going to flop on over to Skycam. I'm sorry if it's too flickery. The old flickery camera. Wow, it just keeps moving too. Like here's the setting, like granola bar and all sorts of stuff. I don't know, it must be like a quake or something. Gee whiz. All right, so now we cheat by just sliding the board over. Yeah, all right. Try to get all this mess. When I test my camera, it zooms in, and when I log in to talk to you, it doesn't anymore. And if any of you know why that is, I sure would like to know. We said Aristotle saw questions as character. Buber saw questions of consequence. Amy Madison. This is some tricky language. Of theory and mechanism. So, what is ethnography? Ethnography is a particular branch of qualitative studies, a way of making knowledge in qualitative studies, whereby the scholar makes personal, declarative statements about who they are and why they study the things that they study, where they incorporate their own existence within the process of learning as a fundamental part of how they learn.
Huh?
If you are creating learning in a sterilized environment, you are not doing ethnography. And no one in this field will say that so-called sterilized experimentation does not create meaning. It does, but it's just not enough. It's not enough to explain what humans are made of. So for Madison, critical ethnography, when we try to account for the ways that we create knowledge in communication with others, is very important.
What are we listening to then?
My professor.
Communication is literally the root of the play.
Multitasking.
You want to study anything at all, you need to have what she calls not just an ethnographic perspective, a critical ethnographic perspective. One that is looking at the individual themselves and saying, who am I to speak of the places that I have been? How do I change the manifestation of the places that I've been when I speak for them? This is where our theory and our method come together. The kind of person we want to be, sorry about the glare, everyone, I just realized there's a terrible glare on screen. The kind of theory we want to make, the kind of knowledge we want to make, the kind of person we want to make is intrinsically connected, that's the word connected, refer to the way we do our business. You cannot separate your intentions, your perspectives, your identity from your methodology. They're connected. And that must be where we inhabit ethics, where we try to embody ethics. How do we do this? What does it mean to be ethical? The first thing we say say when people ask, what does it mean to be ethical? Again, there are no simple answers to ethical questions. There is no such thing as being ethical. There are more ethical and less ethical approaches because we are more or less aware of the consequences of our actions. You can be aware of your consequences by asking, I want to say 5 questions? 5 questions. What are you doing on time? Got it. Time to conquer, good in. Ooh, cutting it close. This is on page 4. You have to navigate first your own purposes and intentions as a researcher and their consequences. If you are only good intended, that should be an alarm bell. If you are only bad intended, that should be an alarm bell. If you have perfectly neutral, totally objective stance, that's just very alarming. We have to have broader, more complex purposes and intentions for creating knowledge if we want to make ethical knowledge. Can we predict our own kinds of harm? If you look at Nakayama and Kreisek give you 6 ways that white people will say, please don't talk about whiteness if I ask you what does it mean to be white. And we have shown that that is deeply predictable. It just continues to replicate itself for decades. Men interrupt women and talk over women and loud over women and all sorts of things. There is so much research. Nakayama and Kreisek will say that reflexivity means leading on research when it comes to this. Leading on research when it comes to this. Are you a white person? You can predict your harm for sure. Are you a man? Are you a cis hetero man? We ought to be able to predict these things. My embodiment means when folks come to me and say I'm doing the patriarchy or the sexism or the heteronormativity, I have to say probably, because that's very predictable. Did I intend to do it? Hopefully not, but predictably this is very likely, because the research says the more we know about our own forms of privilege, the less we attend to them. We like to talk about it, but we don't change our behavior.
Shots at a time. And then we keep going around, and then 5 spots on the 3.
How will we create and maintain dialogue? Oh, we have to create dialogue. They don't know you. You don't know them. You got to introduce yourself. How's that going to work? You have to maintain dialogue. As a debate coach, I will tell you, one of the worst things you can do for a debate is try to end it. Do not end a debate. That's not how it works. Debates are to be maintained because there is no right answer to a good debate. There's no right answer. It's just a question of maintenance of our disagreements and making decisions when we have to. But when you try to end a debate, boy, that leaves a legacy, doesn't it? Like there, over, forever. That's a very it way of looking at debate. With ourselves, too, yes, Maria, emphatically so. This dialogue is with others. This dialogue is with the world itself. This dialogue must with ourselves. Like, be aware of your states. Are you exhausted? Are you upset? Are you any of these things? Those must have consequences. They must.
And on May too. Huh?
Journaling. Just an essential kind of methodology of William Madison. If you're not journaling, how good is it at all? Where will you know about where you're at? Number 4.
It's all numbers, basketball numbers. Everything numbers shit.
We will call it making the personal political. This is not about any one person's idea or story. This is not subjective living. This is not mere subjectivity. There are structures at play. Can we connect the problems at the local level to the problems at the broader level? Can we find the individual story to be part of what we call a bigger structure? A bigger structure. Individual people can have all sorts of reasons that they are upset. If we can connect them to this heteropatriarchy or white supremacy or something like that, that connection right
No
here,
excuse though, no excuse though.
that's good. We can describe that connection. We can work from that connection and try to understand how our knowledge creates consequence and pinpoint the place where we're doing that.
Get in there, Chief. Get this in there. Oh my God. 15.
What is the contribution? Who is this for? Who is this for? Who is this for? This is like one of the most important questions to ask most documentaries. Any movie at all that shows you like child soldiers, ask, who is this for? When we show child soldiers in American storytelling, they're heroes. When we show child soldiers in like African storytelling, it's really tragic. And we can talk about the legacies there, but the point is simply, who is this for? What are we trying to do? Freedom? Justice? Wealth? Fame? Is this a brand thing? Is